In my opinion, David Villa is the most underrated striker of his generation, simply because he should have gotten much more recognition than he actually did. He might not have won a Ballon d'Or or been a global superstar, but he definitely was an absolute assassin. It's about time people put more respect on his name and recognize just how legendary he actually is. So that's exactly what I'm gonna do. What's up guys, it's your boy Raymar back again for another video, and today we're gonna take a look at how good David Villa actually was. Let's begin with his childhood. David Villa's hopes of playing football were actually at risk, because at the age of 4 he suffered a fractured femur on his right leg. And for those who don't know what that is, it's pretty much your thigh bone. And fun fact, your femur is actually the strongest bone in your body, so I'm not exactly sure what a young David Villa was doing that led to him breaking it. But anyways, that broken bone didn't stop him from playing football. He would ask his dad to help him train his left foot practically every day until he recovered. So much so that at a young age, Villa pretty much became ambidextrous, meaning that he could use his left and right foot equally well. Being ambidextrous is an insane skill set for a footballer to have, and it definitely helped Villa throughout his career. That's why if you take a look at any of his FIFA Ultimate Team cards from any year, you'll notice he has a 5-star weak foot rating because he pretty much doesn't even have one. Which, by the way, has given me a ton of goals throughout my FIFA playing career. But yeah, like I said, Villa was an absolute assassin on the pitch. In his very first season as a professional with Sporting Gijón, he would score 20 goals in 44 appearances at the age of 20, which you don't see many people doing. And the next season he would do even better with 21 goals in 40 appearances. Now some of you might say, well, he played for the Segunda Division, so the competition was easy. And although that might be true, his time at the discount La Liga, as I like to call it, pretty much gave him the green light to do crazy things and gain confidence in his game, which would be very beneficial experience to his 21-year-old self. He performed extremely well but was still under the radar as nobody really knew him. But Real Zaragoza noticed his talent and decided to sign him for just 3 million euros. An incredibly cheap price for such a great talent, because like I said, he was underrated and had no hype behind him. So it would be an absolute steal for the club. At Zaragoza, he would again put up similar goal scoring numbers with 21 goals in 48 games. Villa would also help his club reach the Copa del Rey final, where they would go up against a stacked Real Madrid squad with players like Zidane, Ronaldo, David Beckham, Roberto Carlos, and Iker Casillas. Villa would carry his team to victory as he would score the game-winning goal to give his club the Copa del Rey Cup. Even after such a good season and a couple of years of consistency, people still didn't pay much attention to him. What's crazy is that Zaragoza traded him away to Valencia in 2005 for only 12 million euros because they needed money. Valencia realized that they got an absolute steal when Villa scored 28 goals in 47 games, which was his best season yet with a goal-scoring ratio of .60, scoring in more than half of his appearances, which included him scoring a hat-trick in just 5 minutes against Atletico Bilbao. Villa would also finish as La Liga's second highest goal scorer with only a single goal behind Samuel Eto'o, scoring more than even Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, and even Fernando Torres that year. By the way, if this is shocking news to you, then go ahead and hit that like button, because it just further emphasizes how underrated he was. Villa's first-year goal tally was also the best any player at Valencia ever had, passing a record that was 60 years old. In the 2007 season, Villa would score 20 goals in 49 appearances, which is still great considering he had to share goals with former Real Madrid star Fernando Morientes, who had just recently joined the club. Instead of scoring a lot of goals, Villa would have the most assists in La Liga, having more than even Barcelona legends like Deco, Xavi, and Iniesta, which shows that his game is much more than just goal scoring. That past summer, Villa also scored a total of 3 World Cup goals, equaling Zidane, Ronaldo, Thierry Henry, and fellow teammate Fernando Torres. In 2008, David Villa would once again have an excellent season, scoring 22 goals in 41 games, helping Valencia win its first Copa del Rey title in 9 years. But the really impressive thing about this year was his performance in the 2008 Euros. Villa would be an absolutely crucial part of Spain's squad, winning the tournament's Golden Boot with 4 goals and helping his country win their second ever European title, beginning what was arguably the most dominant international dynasty with Spain. 2009 would be Villa's best season, with him scoring 31 goals in 43 games, which would be his highest ever single-season goal-scoring ratio with .72 goals a game. And if you're only counting La Liga matches, Villa would score 28 goals in 32 appearances, which is .84 goals a game. Villa would also surpass his own Valencia record back in 2006 for the most goals scored in a single season for the club, with 28 across all competitions. Also, Ricardo Kaká would praise David Villa, saying that he was the best Spanish footballer, and adding that Villa was also the one player that he wanted to play with most. But despite all this, Villa only came in 7th place for Ballon d'Or voting. 2010 would be Villa's final year in Valencia, scoring 28 goals in 45 appearances with a goal-scoring ratio of .62. However, the highlight of this year for Villa would be in the 2010 World Cup in South Africa. Villa would score 5 goals in the tournament, tying Diego Forlan, Thomas Muller, and Wesley Sneijder for the World Cup Golden Boot, helping his country Spain win their very first World Cup title. And yes, I'm aware that Iniesta scored in the final, but if you look at Villa's performances, he pretty much destroyed every other team to get there. I remember watching him and his goals were absolutely cold-blooded, especially the one against Honduras that's on the screen right now. In 2011, Barcelona would sign David Villa for 40 million euros after his contract with Valencia was up. Villa would score 23 goals in 52 games, which is still great considering he had to share the ball with Lionel Messi. Villa would help Barcelona win the Champions League, as he also scored against Man United in the final. Villa became the male athlete of the year, just barely winning over Spanish tennis superstar Rafael Nadal. Barcelona's offense was absolutely deadly with Messi and Villa on the attack, and it didn't hurt to have 2 of the all-time great midfielders in Iniesta and Xavi as well. Things were looking great for Villa, as he was finally in a big market club, which means he would get a lot more recognition. Unfortunately, in his second year with Barcelona, Villa would end up breaking his tibia during a Club World Cup match, which would pretty much end his season and killed his prime early. Villa was only 30 years old, which is usually the peak age. A few good seasons, Villa was consistent throughout his whole career. He would stay with Barcelona until 2013, where he would still perform well and provide goals, but that explosiveness and crazy finishing which he was known for came a lot less often. Still, in his last 2 years with Barcelona, he would score 25 goals in 67 appearances, which is by no means bad at all considering he had broken his leg. Villa would go on to Atletico Madrid for 1 year and score 15 goals in 47 games. And don't get me wrong, he was still a great player. In fact, Atletico even wanted him to stay. However, he received what he called an irresistible offer, which ended up being a contract to play for newly formed MLS team New York City FC. Villa said, "I want to try and help MLS continue to grow and make New York City become the best team in the league." At New York, Villa would be happy. He got paid a lot, got to live in a beautiful city, and was undoubtedly a superstar for his club and the MLS. Most importantly, he would be playing like he was still in his prime at the age of 36. In his 4 years there so far, he scored 76 goals in 119 appearances, having a goal-scoring ratio of .64. Now, I know what you're thinking, Raymar, that's not impressive. He's playing against scrubs in the MLS. And yeah, that may be true, but he still has the skill and talent to perform as he always has. All in all, throughout his club career, he would score 358 goals in 720 appearances, with a total goal-scoring ratio of .50 goals a game. Also, Villa performed insanely well throughout his international career with Spain. He would go on to score a total of 59 goals in 90 appearances with a .60 goals per game ratio, becoming Spain's all-time goal scorer. And again, he was a very pivotal part of that Spain dynasty that reigned from 2008 to 2012. And maybe I'll even do a video on that iconic Spanish team because they were and still are my favorite international squad. Anyway, so if you add his club and international goal scoring ratios, you could see that throughout his entire career, he would average .55 goals a game. Meaning that throughout his entire 18-year career so far, you could expect him to score at least once every other game. Overall, having better stats than even legends like Ronaldinho, Didier Drogba, and Ruud van Nistelrooy. So yeah, that's basically all I have for you guys today. Go ahead and leave a comment of who you think is an underrated player or even someone you'd like me to make a video about. As always, if you did enjoy, don't forget to leave a like as it really does help support my channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, make sure you're subscribed and join the notification squad so you don't miss out. Thank you guys again for all the love and support, and I'll see you in the next one.